Right, so today we're going to learn how to edit a paint image, one of our paint drop images. So when you're first editing this, you want to make sure that your white is very white in the background. You can see that this has a lot of gray tones back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the exposure up a little bit here first before I do anything. I want my whites to be white, and then I'm also going to use this tool right here. It's called the white balance tool. That's just on your raw process because we're going to be raw processing this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on like some of the white in this image and just kind of sample that. You can see what happens if I click on the blue, right? It made it kind of go kind of a yellowy color. So let's go back to this area, which is where our white is. And so that we have our white selected so that it's kind of balancing it to be more pure white, okay? So now we're going to come over here to our exposure again, and we're going to make sure that we've got some whites in here, but we don't want to overexpose it because then that'll wash it out. So we're just going to maybe bring it up a little bit, just make it a little brighter on the exposure. We can also play with the temperature, so I'm going to bring this. I want my background to be white. I don't want it to be yellow. I don't want it to be purple. I want it to be nice and white. So I'm going to just move this around a little bit and try to get it as white as possible. And then I'm going to move my tint around. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it kind of like where I had it in the middle. I don't really want to adjust my tint. Now I'm going to come over here to contrast. I'm going to give a little bit of a contrast. It'll kind of pop the colors a little bit. And give it a little bit of, bring up the highlights a little bit, which is the white area. We want to bring those up a little bit. That's good because it's not going to cause any damage or noise to my blue. We have our shadows. I do want to bring those shadows down a little bit maybe because I do like the shadows here. Not too much. I'm going to bring my whites up a little bit. Okay, but not too much because I don't want to overexpose it. So I'm just going to bring my whites up just a tad bit. And my blacks down, so like the darker areas will be darker. Give it a little bit of clarity, a little bit of vibrance, and a little bit of saturation. And now I'm going to come over here to my detail. I'm going to sharpen this a little bit, and I'm going to zoom in with Control+ on my keyboard and just double check my image quality. I'm going to bring up my noise reduction just a little bit so it kind of reduces some of that. Bring my sharpening up a little bit, noise reduction a little bit here. I'm just checking to see if my luminance contrast really makes a difference. Not really. Any noise reduction in the color? Not really. Color detail? Not really. Color smoothness? Not really making a difference. Okay. Let's see here. I don't think I need to do anything else on here. I don't need to do anything else. I could go to hue, and if I wanted to, I could change the color of this on hue. Okay, so that's under camera calibration, and I could change the hue if I wanted to. Maybe make it purple. I'm gonna go Control minus. I kind of like the purple color, so I think I might keep it purple. It doesn't really do any damage to my image. So that's the blue, and that's the purple. Let's see here. Do I green primary? No. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open the image, but I'm going to make note that I did a +6.9 on our, because I'm going to be adding another image to this. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. I'm going to be adding like a little drop image. Okay, so I'm going to open up project 5672 that has a drop image. I'm going to go over here to open, and 5672, I'm just going to end up selecting the drop. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. So I'm going to add my exposure here. I'm just going to bring this up and get that like good exposure. I'm going to use my white balance to adjust the temperature a little bit here. Going to add some highlights and increase my shadow a little bit because I'm going to end up copying the shadow here. I'm going to bring my whites up a little bit just to make it a little brighter, and my blacks down a little bit, add a little bit of clarity, add a little bit of vibrance, add a little saturation. I'm going to add a little bit of sharpening like I did earlier with a little bit of luminance noise reduction. I'm going to come over to my camera calibration, and I'm going to bring my up to 69 so I can match what I had before. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of open this image here. So now I have two images. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to use my quick selection tool to select this little drop here. Okay, so let's select that. Okay, come over here to refine edge, and I'm going to just double check that, make sure I have a little bit of a smooth selection with a little bit of contrast along that edge, a little bit of a feather, a little bit of contrast. Okay, and then I'm going to go edit, copy, bring it over to this image and go edit, paste. And I'm going to move that using my move tool. And bring it up here. Come on. It's too small. It's not like wanting, I'm going to go Control plus so I can kind of zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to, then I can move this up a little easier here. I'm going to move it up. Use my little navigator to move it to the, up to the top. I'm going to put this like right here, kind of over that. And then I'm going to zoom out. Maybe I'll keep it, maybe kind of keep it right there. I might end up, I'm thinking that this edge doesn't actually look soft enough, so I'm actually going to delete it. And I'm going to just going to delete this layer, and I'm going to dry it one more time with the refine edge. The refine edge, and I'm going to smooth it out just a little more, just not quite smooth enough on that edge, on that drop. It just seemed a little odd. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and just check that out. I want that edge to be nice and smooth. So edit, copy, go to this, back to my image here, edit, paste, and let's move it up to here, about there. Okay, let's go back to this image and let's select that shadow. I'm actually going to deselect the top, or deselect the whole thing, so I can go in and kind of reselect the shadow area here. I'm going to select a little bit more than the actual shadow. So go to Refine Edge, and let's smooth that out a little bit, and let's feather that out a little bit. Let's see, that there, and then okay. I'm going to come to Edit, Copy. I'm not sure if I need to work on that a little more, but we'll see. Edit, Paste, and let's bring that in over here and kind of line that up. And it looks a little off in color, so I'm going to go to Image Adjustments and Hue Saturation. I'm actually going to bring the lightness down a little bit on that so that the shadow kind of blends in a little better. There we go. Now it does. And now what I want to do is retouch some of this. So I'm going to duplicate my background, and I'm going to call it Working Image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the cloning tool, and I'm going to remove this here because it kind of is in conflict with the new drop I added. So I'm going to delete that out. Get rid of it completely. And that means I'm going to have to kind of take it out over here. So make sure your opacity is down, maybe at 30%. And because there was a little bit of a shadow from that little drop on the actual paint, so I'm going to take it out here. I'm going to get rid of some of these little paint drops that don't look very nice, like these little tiny ones. So just get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this smudge here. Clean up that smudge. Maybe with a little bit of a sharper brush so that I can kind of go around the edge a little bit here. I'm going to zoom in, Control Plus, so I can kind of look at that a little bit closer here. Now I'm going to go back to a soft brush because I need to kind of soften a little bit of the edge here. So I'm going to go and just clone this little edge here. And just soften that edge slightly. I'm going to get rid of all these little drops. So I'm going to put my opacity up a little higher because it's pretty straightforward, just white over white. So I'm going to get rid of these little tiny drops here that are kind of reflecting. Let's see here, I like this one. That one's okay. This is good. That one's good. Okay, these little tiny things here, I'm going to get rid of. I don't like them. They're kind of messing it up and not very neat. Okay, these here. These tiny, tiny little things over here. Come up over here around the edges. Lots of little tiny things I don't like that are just kind of making it look messy. Right here and here.